hello there. This is Diane Kimsey, your elementary math consulting teacher for USD 501. It is great to have you here. I'm very excited to share with you problem solving, word problems, and using Jamboard. We're all about teaching better and saving time for what matters most. So how about keeping our students engaged and saving some time? Sounds good, right? So let's combine problem solving, application problems, with Jamboard for some of our guided math rotations. All right, so our visible learning today, let's take a look at this. So we are learning to use Google Jamboard and the problem-solving framework, I'm going to share that with you here in a minute, to engage our students in problem solving. We are learning to use the 8 standards of mathematical practice, you've seen those on your curriculum design maps, to build a culture of thinking mathematicians. So we want more than just learning about math, we want our students to be thinking about math. We will be successful when we can prepare the Jamboards ahead of teaching the students, incorporate the 8 standards of mathematical practice into our daily math instruction, and then utilizing this problem-solving framework into our daily math lessons. So let's get started. I first want to give us just a quick look at what is Jamboard, and Jamboard has made some new changes that I think are really wonderful. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. I'm going to minimize my screen. There are, with Google, there are a dozen different ways of getting to anything and doing anything on Google. I've listed my 2 favorite ways to get there. For what we're going to do right now, I'm going to suggest that we do this top one. It's quick, it's sassy, it's easy to do. The second one, I'm going to show you how to do that in just a little bit. So let's do this first one. I'm going to minimize my screen here. There we go. We're going to open up a new tab. Okay, so it's Google. I'm going to go up here. I hope you can see my mouse. I'm going to go up here to the address bar. And in the address bar, I'm just going to type in jam.new. That's it. And boom, there's Jamboard. Okay, so for those of you who have been to Jamboard before, one of the things I really want to show you right now, I used this last year when I was doing remote teaching, and there was always a kid or 2 or 3 who thought it was funny to go in and delete each other's post-it notes that they would put on, right? Their sticky notes. And you can make these any color. Here we'll go with blue. That sounds pretty. And I'm going to close that now. There was always somebody who would go in and move them. Well, then the kid who was the author of Hello would get upset. Somebody's moving mine. And you couldn't tell who was moving them, right? Well, now this is really awesome. It's fantastic. Google Jamboard is listening. Google is listening. There are these 3 dots up here at the top, and I always like to refer to them as the snowman. So, the head, the belly, the bottom part. All right, so I'm going to click on it. And something that I love now that they have is see the version history. That is now there. So that is wonderful. Now I can go in and go, all right, so it really was you. I can call out the person who did it. I can go up and I can delete them from being on my Jamboard. So that is a nice new addition on here. I also like, while we're in here, to download these as PDF and to be able to print them out if that's what I'm wanting to do. It's also a nice way of being able to text it or email it to somebody if you need to share it. Another new feature that I really like is clear the frame. So there it goes. It's all gone. And of course, we can always hit the control button and the letter Z, and life is back. All right, I just want to share with you some of the different things that I really like. Oh, another one while we're inside of the three dots. I like to make my copy. And then when I share it out with somebody, I ask them to please make a copy. so that way my copy stays original. And even when I create a new one and I want to share it with the class, I always do make a copy. So I have the original on my Google Drive. Does that make sense? I hope so. All right, let's take a look over here at the left-hand side are your tools. And so you obviously have the pen, and in the pen you have 4 different types, clear down to a paintbrush. How about that? I like to use the marker one myself. It's just a little bit thicker. You have your colors, not very many to choose from. We'll just stick with blue here for a second. So, you can write. I don't do very well writing with a pen on here. Some of our kids, they are outstanding using the pen. My student teacher I had last year, holy cow, Amanda was a genius at writing with the pen, not me. You have the eraser tool, so it can come over and obviously erase, okay? The pointer tool, which is a really nice tool when you're in between deciding what to do and how to do it. It's just a really good idea, I think, to go back to the pointer tool. The tool that I think everybody is most familiar with when they think of Jamboard is the next one. It's the sticky notes. Being able to use, as the kids will say, the Post-it notes. So it's very much like a Post-it note tool. All right, so for lack of creativity, I'll just call it Post-it note, all right? When you're inside of here, you have the 3 dots again, the snowman. I can click on it, I can duplicate it. If this is something that I want 6 different people to be using, I can click on it and duplicate it 6 times or whatever. I guess I just did it 3 times here, but you get the idea. Let's go back into that. I can also delete it. It's an easy way to delete something. The ordering, let me show you what I'm talking about here. You see the line is going through the Post-it note. Okay, I'm sure most of you know about this. This is a tool that's been used many, many, many times. I can go to order and I can send it to the back. Well, I guess the line isn't a good example. How about if I bring it over here to hello? So now you'll be able to see it. Here we go. Here we go. I'm going to bring it to the front or bring it forward. And now it's on top of hello. All right. It's on top of hello. There we go. There's the image tool, which is really, really sharp. And that I can click on Google image search. And maybe I'm wanting, how about, well, it's basketball season, so let's do basketball. And boom, there's a basketball. I can click on it. Yep, that's the one I want. Come down here to the bottom right and click insert. And just like that, I have a basketball on my screen. Okay? So it's very simple. My kids, they have loved bringing in the pictures to the point I've had to limit and tell them, I'm sorry, but you can only have 2 per screen or something of this sort. All right. So sticky notes, adding the image. This is just a circle, and that's exactly what it says. I can click on it, and there's also arrow and rhombus and rectangle and soft-cornered square. So different things of this sort. So if I'm like, I want you to really pay attention, right here is the basketball. So I can do that. I can duplicate it. Again, I can change the order. And then I love having the ability of being able to type. So I can come back to the keyboard and I can type hello world, and I can do a paragraph or whatever it is I want. I can drag it out and make it larger. So those are just some of the tools right there. I can also go into, so let's go to a new page. You just come up here to the top and you click on the new page. There's also this little drop down button right here so I can see all of my pages. All right, so I'm going to go back to here. I can set the background. I can have the background be a solid color. I can have the background be polka dots. So there are just different things. And I also like the notebook paper, but my goodness, that's narrow line notebook paper, isn't it? So those are just some of the features. I'm going to be sharing with you all kinds of things to do with math problems. So we're going to come back to this in just a bit to see how you can use the multiple pages tool with your class. All right, so that was just a real quick overview of what is Google Jamboard. The other way of getting to Google Jamboard, like I said, is with Google and clicking on the waffle. We will be getting to this in just a bit. So let's take a closer look at the 8 standards of mathematical practice. Again, you've seen this on your curriculum design maps and how they blend in with problem solving with the application problems and Google Jamboard. All right, here is one of the curriculum design maps, and I just pulled up 3rd grade. It's like it's the middle grade, so I just pulled it up. This is module, I believe, 4. Yep, there it is. It says module 4. All of our curriculum design maps, we put in the standards of mathematical practice. We don't spend a whole lot of time talking about them, and so I thought, you know what? We need to know exactly what are these, and I know you can read them, go, I know what they are, model with mathematics, I can read them, I know what they are. I want to show them to you embedded into a word problem. So let's get started on this. I recently was lucky enough to take a class with Robert Kaplinski. It was in a 9-week long class. It was absolutely fantastic. And Robert Kaplinski shared with the class and said, you know, share this with the world, his problem-solving framework. And my gosh, I can't imagine doing a word problem anymore without this. I'm going to pause here for just a moment, and I'm going to let you click on the bit.ly or use your phone and scan the QR code. So if you'll take a moment, you will need your own copy of this problem-solving framework. So would you go ahead and do that now? All right, I'm hoping everybody's had a chance to get that. So we're going to combine the problem-solving framework that you just downloaded from Robert Kaplinski, or you have it on your screen there as a PDF. And we're going to combine it with a 100 by 100 cheeseburger math problem. Yes, you read that correctly. And we're going to use Jamboard. And so you'll notice at the top of the problem-solving framework that the very first question is, what problem are you trying to figure out? And so this is very important for the students to take a moment and write down, well, what is the problem? Well, our problem is, how much does a 100 by 100 in and out cheeseburger cost? Okay, so the kids are going to write this down on their framework. But what's missing from this? How many of our students do you think have ever been to an in and out restaurant? Perhaps many of us have never been to one. We were in Las Vegas a couple years ago, and I went into one just to say, hey, I've been to an in and out cheeseburger restaurant. So a 100 by 100 cheeseburger means it's going to be 100 patties of meat, 100 slices of cheese, but just one bun, and one set of produce, so the lettuce, the tomato, the pickles. And so when we brought up the picture, how many of you went, oh my gosh, there's a heart attack in a picture? You know, we looked at it and a conversation perhaps started. In your classroom at this particular time, we would need to pause and let our kids take a moment and talk about this. Can't you just hear your kids? Oh, wow, man, no way. You know, all the comments that they might be making at this point. All right, so let's do this on Jamboard. Let's take a look at this math problem and let's do it on Jamboard. I've created a bit.ly down at the bottom and I have the QR code. So I'll give you a moment so you can join me on this bit.ly. You can use that on your phone. For the most phones anymore, if you open up the camera tool and just hold your camera up to it, it should pop up. All right. Everybody good? So that's bit.ly/3 TO uppercase B G P uppercase W. All right, I'll give you just a moment more. Let's go jam. Let's go try this. And so here is the Jamboard. And all that I did ahead of time, let me close that over. There we go. All I did ahead of time was bring in some of the pictures and ask some of the questions. Now, what is nice about this is I gave this to my students here just recently to test it out. And I put them into groups of 3 and sometimes groups of 4. And so when the day was over, I had I had 5 to be exact, Jamboards that I needed to look at and grade. Well, 5 Jamboards is a whole lot easier and faster to grade than 20 individual papers. And on top of that, I could do it on my phone, which made it really slick. All right, so for starters, I have my kids, what is your name? So I have them go over and get a sticky note, and each one of them, boom, it flies in. My name's, Gabriel, Ainsley, Athena. My name is Ryan, and they put their names up there on the top, okay? So now on their problem-solving framework sheet of paper, they could just have one for the whole group, or each person could have one. They need to be writing down, what is your problem? Our problem is we're going to figure out how much does this cost, and this really was ordered by a restaurant, or at a restaurant in Las Vegas. The crazy part is, and I would definitely share this with the class, 4 men ordered this and to share it. 4 men. That's just crazy. All right, so now again, up here at the top where you see 1 of 9, so I know this is 9 pages long, I can click on this drop down little triangle, and when my class is in it, I can see each of their names above which page they're on. So I can just quickly get over to where they're at. I'm going to go to, and then you can also, let me show you one more. I can click on the caret that's pointing to the right to get to the next page, or I can get to it by clicking with the drop-down bar. So either way, those are 2 different ways of getting to the different pages. All right, so we're going to use the Problem-Solving Framework by Robert Kaplinski. And so I just had a picture here that I just took a picture of the PDF. I used just the snipping tool. And I just put in here, fill out the problem-solving framework. And they were like, okay, so that's all they needed to do. We're going to move on to the next page. Having pictures up are so important to your kids. And so using that problem-solving framework, it's asking them, what do we already know, and what do we need to know? So why not put it on here? And so where this says answer, I would have my kids click on it, take out the word answer, and have them type in what it is that they're thinking. So what do we know about a single burger? So we'll need to come over here and tell the kids, if you'll notice, it doesn't use the word single burger. They have to use that good old inference skills. It's a cheeseburger that we're talking about. So it's $1.75. What do we know about a double burger here in pink? So we know that a double burger is $2.65, and it says here in smaller print that that's double meat and it's double cheese. And so we'll come back on over to the pink Post-it note, and it says, explain why it was not twice the price of a single burger. Well, a single cheeseburger is $1.75. $1.75 plus $1.75, I would have the kids figure that out and realize that it costs more to buy 2 cheeseburgers than it costs to buy a double-double, and let them talk and think about that. We don't need to tell them ahead of time, hey, you know what? With the double, you're just getting one bun, the bottom bun, the top bun. If we were to buy 2 cheeseburgers, you'd have 2 buns, 2 bottoms, 2 tops. With the double burger, you're only getting 1 slice of lettuce, 1 slice of tomato, 1 pickle or whatever, right? And on the cheeseburger, you're getting the same thing. So how will this information help us with finding the final answer? It's opening up all kinds of conversation. Can't you hear your kids talking about this? And as I put down here in the bottom right, answer each question by adding to the blank post-it beside it. So this could be the team answer, the group answer, and on their sheet of paper, they can each be writing their own answer. All right, I'm going to go to the next page. What info do you already know about the problem? Aren't the pictures great? Oh my gosh, every time I look at this, I think, oh, I'm having a heart attack. So what do you already know about this? And this is where the kids can write down all kinds of things. That's a whole lot of meat. There are 100 patties of meat. There are 100 slices of cheese. I know that 4 people are going to eat this. So what do you already know? This happened at a restaurant called In and Out. So what do you already know about the problem? And again, what our kids are doing at this particular time, they're thinking and they're talking, they're communicating. And this is so important for us to construct for them this opportunity. Math is about learning. You're absolutely right. They need to learn. What's 2 plus 3? They need to be able to rattle that off and say, that's 5. But math is also, more importantly, it's about thinking. And it's about problem solving with others. It's not a silo subject. It's something that we need to work with others. So yes, it's important to learn it, but it's so important to think about it and to be able to communicate about math. And that's where this problem-solving framework comes in so beautifully. And so I love this part. On the problem-solving framework, up in the top right-hand corner, you'll see, well, what estimates do you have? And this is a wonderful opportunity for each of the kids to say, well, I think it's this. No, I think it's going to cost that. And so definitely pause, let them do this. And by the way, I would never just turn the kids loose in doing this. I would teach this a time or two as a whole class and then break into smaller groups and have the kids do a similar problem. So this is also known as the Goldilocks problem solving, the Goldilocks estimate chart. Well, what's too low? Well, we know that from, let's go back up here. We know that a double cheeseburger is $2.65. So obviously it's going to be more than that. How about if we start with, the kids could say, let's start with, it's going to cost $10. That would be too low to charge just $10. Well, what's too high? And we need to talk about reasonable. $1 million, of course, that's outrageous. And it is too high. But we need to be reasonable about our choices. And so, $500, maybe that's too high. Well, what would be just right? How about $200, $250? So the kids also, it's so important that they are constantly adjusting this. That's what math is all about, is that drawing board idea and having the opportunity to constantly adjust. All right, so what information do you need to know about the problem? And so, well, you need to know, what does a single cheeseburger cost? What does a double cheeseburger cost? And then talk about, well, how does that help you to know what each of those costs? How will that help you in finalizing? Let's go back. How will this information help you in answering the math problem? They need to know the difference. Well, what's the difference between a cheeseburger and a double burger in price? So then we're going to go on. So what do you need to know? And then this is where the kids have an opportunity. And this is my favorite part about math, is thinking. It's one thing to learn the math, like I said a moment ago, but it's another thing to think about it. And here's an awesome opportunity for them to think, well, if they're one costs this and two burgers, two patties cost this. So it helps them in putting their skills to work. What if you did have 100? So let's think about this. You can use the pen tool. You can use the typing tool. You can use the sticky notes. You can share numbers and words. You're going to show numbers and words, of how you're going to figure out the cost of a 100 by 100 cheeseburger. Again, back to that problem-solving framework. You'll notice on the back side there's even graph paper. But this is an opportunity for them to stop and draw and think and figure out, how are we going to attack this math problem? And then once they think they have an idea, let each of them in their group add to this board. And again, they can do it by using the pen, the typing tool, the sticky notes, whatever they are most comfortable with. You can also add in more pages right here if each child wants their own page. And then here comes the next question. We need to go back to that Goldilocks bar, if you will. Has your estimate changed? Have you thought about this in a different way now? Do you think your cost of being too low is reasonable to say $10? No, I don't think that's reasonable. How about I'm going to take it up to $50 now? Was your idea that it's going to cost $300 or whatever your too high was? Is that reasonable still? No, I think I'm going to bring it down to $200 now. What do you think is the just right? And so letting the kids constantly adjust this. Again, it's not just about learning, it's about thinking and communicating and having different ways to communicate what you know. And now, what is your conclusion? How did you reach your conclusion? And hopefully the kids will come up with an idea. Hopefully they really will. Now, is this something they can do in 15 minutes? Oh, holy cow, no. Might this take them all 5 school days during their guided math time to figure out? I most certainly think it will. Perhaps get out butcher paper and let them draw and write on it to figure this out. And then once they get to their final thought as to how much it costs, let them publish it right here. Let them publish and share. What did it cost to make a 100 by 100 cheeseburger at the In-N-Out restaurant? Okay, I'm going to flip on down here to our next slide. And let's go back to the part that I was talking about in the very beginning, about those 8 standards of mathematical, come on, there we go. The 8 standards for mathematical practice. Well, here are the 8. I don't know about you, but I didn't spend a whole lot of time really stopping and looking at this part on the curriculum design map when I was a classroom teacher. Being on the CNA team, the curriculum and assessment team, that's when I was like, oh, okay, all right. And then, of course, now I really focus on this area. And so I felt like it was so important to bring this in and to share it with you and to talk a little bit more as to what does this mean when you're doing problem solving, and how is it that Jamboard can help all 8 of these areas come to life? Well, number 1, so they're called SMPs, just to be short, make sense of problems and persevere in solving them. So our students would have many, many opportunities when doing this math problem to revise. Look at the number, that number line alone. And I love this. Robert Kaplinsky said when I took his class that math needs to be treated more like writing an essay. And so that's what this problem-solving framework was all about. You know, with writing an essay, we first have an outline and then a rough draft, and we scratch through this and we scratch through this and make edits before we have that final draft. Well, when I look at that Jamboard idea and all the different opportunities for thinking, you know, on a sheet of paper, and like I said, maybe get out the butcher paper and tear off a piece, or construction paper, or whatever. I don't recommend the whiteboard because when they erase, they get kind of upset that I had it yesterday. Well, anyway. And so putting it on the Jamboard also is a wonderful way to create kind of this essay way. So reason abstractly and quantitatively, all right? And so Students can explain what each value in the problem represents. If I had put this up on the board to start with, all right, kids, today you're going to do this math problem, 2 and 6500ths plus 9/10 times n. The kids are going to be like, huh, what? But if you do the math problem, you know what each of these math problems, what each of those numbers stands for. And that is the exciting thing. And for them to see at the end, guys, do you know how we would have used this math problem right here? And they're going to go, oh my gosh, yes, $1.75 is what a single cheeseburger costs. Well, what does it mean to take away 90 cents and then n minus 1? Letting them see we already know this information because we've experienced it. So all of these problems are correct, and they all have meaning. And my favorite part is when the students experience the math problems, when they experience those numbers. And I love that SMP 3 goes right along with Joe Buller's 3 levels of convincing. And this is right up there with that estimate number line that Robert Kaplinski had. So a great way of explaining this is kind of related to a trial. Whoops, I am so sorry. Hold on here. I did not mean to scoot that on. Let me move this out of the way. I'm sorry about that. So it's like being on a trial, right? And so you yourself believe that you are innocent. Your attorney's going to go, all right, I think you are too. But over here, these are the doubters, the people in the jury. And in the middle, this is the judge. And so when I think about Joe Buller's 3 levels of convincing, or the standards of mathematical practice number 3, I think about that LA law kind of scenario. You have to convince yourself first that your answer and the way that you're doing this math problem, it's correct. Then you have to, your best friend, they're going to go along with you pretty quick and easily, right? But the person who thinks they know everything, they're way down here on this end. They're like, no, this is how you do the math problem. And here in the middle, this is the teacher. Convince the teacher that the way you're approaching it is correct. And let the person over here who's like, no, you do it this way, let them convince the teacher that they're correct. All right? So convince yourself, convince a friend, convince a skeptic. So model with mathematics. This one's the obvious one. If I would have just said to you in the very beginning, I want you to figure out the cost of a 100 by 100 cheeseburger. All right, as adults, we're like, I know what maybe a 4 by 4 cheeseburger looks like, but a 100 by 100. So the importance of having that picture. Think about at the moment when this came up, all the conversation that will happen in your classroom. Oh, holy cow. Oh, no. You can see the kids. You can hear the kids responding to this. So the importance of having that. Ideas, if you were to say, all right, everybody, right now, write down something that you're thinking about on your paper. I'm pretty sure that you would have 85 to 90% of your kids writing something down. So the actual math problem will develop because they have this picture to go back to and go, oh, well, now wait a minute. Remember how it said? So that picture will definitely help in making their answers more reasonable. All right? So there we go, the reasonableness of the answer. So that's using a model. Using the appropriate tools, as I put there, this is the easy peasy lemon squeezy part. Please notice as you're reading through here, please notice you did not see math worksheet as a tool, as a strategy. All right, so please think about these things. Again, it's one thing to learn math. It's another thing to think about math. And that's where these tools will help our kids with thinking about math. Now, the attention to precision. We tell our kids, I taught 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade the most. I taught 2nd grade as well. We tell our kids all the time, you need to put labels on those answers. You need to put labels. Well, what we're talking to is attend to precision. All right, so maybe use that vocabulary when you're talking to your kids. So look for and make use of structure. And so we could talk to the kids about a single burger and let them kind of build it. Well, what's on a single burger? All right, so maybe I should have put bottom bun, produce, that's the lettuce, the tomato, the pickle. There's the meat, the cheese. And on a single, there's a slice of onion. And then there's the top bun, and it's $1.75. All right, so here's a picture of it. There's the model. Ooh, look at the special sauce dripping off. I might have to stop for a cheeseburger on my way home from work tonight. And then what is a double? Well, it's still that bun. It's still the produce. It's still the meat. It's still the cheese. It's an onion. But take a look. There's another meat patty, another slice of cheese, and then the top bun. And that's $2.65. All right, and so this is a great opportunity for the kids to go, So the difference between a double and a single is $2.65 minus $1.75. And so the meat and cheese obviously costs 90 cents, right? And so now they're going to look for the repeated reasoning. And of course, we talk to our kids all the time about repeated addition is the same thing as multiplication. And so they now know that each of those patties cost 90 cents. Well, I could buy a double cheeseburger, and then I would need 98 more patties and cheese because a double gives me already 2. And so they can start putting together some of their thoughts and some of the numbers. And that's where the 90 cents comes in. And those numbers start to mean something. So 85 cents, as you see right here, is the cost you pay one time for that lettuce, tomato, pickle, onion, and the buns. Okay, and the bun, I should say, not plural. So that's the 85 cents. So a meat and patty is 90 cents. We can take that times take that times 100. And then add in the bun, lettuce, tomato, pickles, onion. And guys, can you believe it? A 100 by 100 cheeseburger is less than $100. Myself, when I did this, I was kind of surprised. I was expecting it to cost more than that. So let's give this another try. Let's do this again. Again, I love Jamboard and putting these together, and they're not difficult. They're not time-consuming to put together. Once you create one, they all start to kind of fall in together on how to do this. This is one from, I'm sure you guys have heard of Andrew Stadel. He has a website that's called 101qs.com. So if you'll go ahead and bring up this QR code, we can kind of share this one just real quick with you. We're not going to go over this one with as much detail as we did the other one, but I just want to show you, now that you know about the standards of mathematical practice more, maybe you'll attack the application problems on Jamboard in a different way. Okay, I'm going to assume you're there. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry, this was probably on top of that bit.ly the whole time. Sorry about that. Okay, so bit period or .ly /3 lowercase I F uppercase L lowercase v uppercase H 3. All right, let me minimize this. We'll go out. So how many Post-it notes will it take to cover this 2-door file cabinet? So let's take a look at it here for a moment and think about our standards for mathematical practice and what do we have going on here. All right, so we have the model, we have the picture to help them. Down here in the bottom, you can always click on these and make it larger. And here's how you can get to more of Andrew Stadel. He's also known as the Estimation 180 guy, and hopefully many of you are using that website. Oh my gosh, I love Estimation 180. All right, and so there's Andrew Stadel. All right, I'm going to go ahead and shrinky-dink that down again. All right, so how many Post-it notes will it take to cover this 2-door file cabinet? Well, at this moment, what are we missing? We don't know how tall it is, right? And so we can go on to the next page. And this will give you an idea. Andrew is standing in front of it, and we know that he's about as tall as it. Now this gives us a different perspective. There are, 4 rows of Post-it notes on here at the moment. So what problem are you trying to figure out? And this again is where the kids go to their sheet, the problem-solving framework, and they can each write it down. Or as a team, they can come over and grab their Post-it note and type down what problem it is that they're working on. Go to the next one. Well, what do we already know? They can click right here and they can just start typing. We know that it's 72 inches tall, it's 36 inches wide. They can put down what they already know. How will the dimensions of the cabinet help us? And so hopefully at this point, somebody's going to start throwing in the word area. It will help us fill in the whole area. It will help us with multiplying and figuring out what the area is of the cabinet. So are we using area or perimeter to find the answer? So I think what's really fun on this one is when you stop and think about it, area and perimeter get easily confused with our kids. We can talk to them all we want. We're going to put carpeting down on the whole area. We're putting the mop board around the perimeter of the room. We can talk about it until we're blue in our face. But isn't it amazing that when somebody goes to Menards or Home Depot or Lowe's or wherever, and they're wanting to buy paint to paint the walls, or they're wanting to buy carpet for the floor, isn't it amazing they know what area and perimeter is then? So what's the deal? Well, when we're doing it on paper and pencil, we're learning it, right? When we're doing it at Home Depot, Menards, Lowe's, wherever, we're thinking about it, we're applying it, and there is a heck of a difference. And so here's more information the kids need to know. What size are those Post-it notes? I would definitely have out a package of the 3x3 Post-it notes. And so now it's time for, the Goldilocks estimate, as I like to say it. What info do you already know about the problem? So how is knowing the formula for area helping you answer the problem? How is your knowledge of division and measurement and oh gosh, I can't even read this, helping you answer the problem? And then here is the actual video of Andrew Stadel doing this math problem. You can take that off if you don't want the kids to have it. Plenty of workspace for them to think about it. And last but not least, what is your conclusion? How did you reach that conclusion? Again, the communication part that must happen in math. Now that you know the answer, what were the equations that helped Andrew Stadel know how many Post-its to buy? And it's okay that they know the answer. It's okay to sometimes work backwards. You know what the problem, you know what the answer is. How can we turn that into the math problem to go, aha, so that's how we do it. Anyway, there's just another example of these math problems that you can do on Jamboard. And again, that one's in Andrew Stadel. So I go back and forth. The cheeseburger one that came from Robert Kaplinski, and then and you can go to his website, so robertkaplinski.org or .com and get stuff from him. And then Andrew Stadel with Estimation 180 is loaded with them. Once again, I hope you're going to start looking at the standards for mathematical practice on the curriculum design maps in a different way. So Robert Kaplinski really is a guru in my eyes. I think the world of him. I have used many of his lessons before. There's the spelling of his name. And I just have to share, after taking his class, it made me reflect and think back to many years ago. I was asked to teach a summer school class, and it was for 9th grade algebra. And I had kids who literally went through like an identity crisis in this algebra class. They were the kids who had been told their whole life how good they are at math because they were quick at it and they could do it in their head. But in algebra, you don't do it in your head. Algebra needs you to write down your information, and not just for the credit, but to keep track of the work that you're doing. And so kids who equated themselves as being good at math because they could do it in their head or they could do it fast, all of a sudden they started doubting their own math abilities in algebra. So being good at math is about being persistent, about keeping an open mind to problem solving, even when it gets uncomfortable. Math is working through that discomfort and figuring things out. That's why I love that problem-solving framework. Kids get to see what is in their heads, and I think more importantly, they get to see what's in their friends' heads as they're trying to solve these math problems. So, it's important to keep Albert Einstein happy, right? So paper is to write things down that we need to remember. Our brains are used to think. So go ahead and scan this one more time if you need to, so you can get to that problem-solving framework, so we can promote the communication, and of course, so we can keep Albert Einstein happy. Just a little management tip on using Jamboards. If you want to pause the video here and write down how to do this, I make one, and then when I share it out with my students, I force it, as I'm hoping it did for you, I'm forcing them to click on make a copy. All right? And so when I do this with a class, I have one person do that in the group. And they think they're pretty hot stuff too when they do this. And so this is where Good O'Kagan comes in. The kids are numbered off 1, 2, 3, 4. You can spin a little spinner and say, all right, twos, you're the ones who are going to download that Jamboard. You're going to be the ones to open it up. But then you have to share it out with the other 3 people in your group. And they, of course, always have to share it with me, the teacher. And again, I am now grading 4 or 5 Jamboards instead of 20 or 24 or whatever math sheets. I'm grading 4 of them, 5 of them this time. So hopefully that's given you an opportunity to copy. Let's just review those visible learning, our learning intentions and our success criteria one more time. We're learning to use Google Jamboard, hopefully you did, and the problem-solving framework to engage students in problem solving. We're learning to use the 8 standards of mathematical practice to build a culture of thinking mathematicians. Not just learning how to do the math, but to think about it. And you will be successful when you prepare the Jamboard ahead of time. It really didn't take me but 5 to 10 minutes, honestly, to do that. Incorporate the 8 standards of mathematical practice into your daily math instructions. I think that model part is so important. Utilize the problem-solving framework into your daily math lessons. And I can already hear people asking, can we use that on the state assessments? No, you can't. But you can sure use it on a daily basis to the point where our kids know what it is they need to write down and know what it is they need to do. I thank you very much for coming to this little chat. Hopefully you learned a little bit more about Jamboard. I absolutely love math word problems, the application problems. I love doing them. And I think by knowing a little bit more, a little bit better, what are the standards of mathematical practice, hopefully that math application will start making more sense. And I know that your kids will like the Jamboards. I know they will. If you need me, contact me. I'd love to hear from you. I'll happily help answer any questions if I can. And if not, I'll go find out an answer for you. Enjoy the rest of your day. And again, thank you so much for joining me on this video.